Welcome to another revisit of Power Rangers Dino Thunder. For today's episode, we'll be talking about Game On, which depicts our Blue Ranger, Ethan, as he gets obsessed with a video game that he can't beat, and it gets him into some strange world that is made from the device he tries to use to get the code he needs from the wizard. And let me tell you that it's kind of a fun episode to revisit because I swear I had memories of some wizard character that was in the game, as well as Tommy missing his mouth, and the Megazord using the Tyranno drill as a sword, but for a radar. That was kind of like a surprise to revisit, especially of late, because it felt like one of those things that, when you're a kid or a younger person and you saw something that like went past your mind, but when you think about it over time, you start realizing that might be or might not be true. Kind of like when people compare like the spelling of Berenstain Bears and whatnot. But in this case, like it actually was true that there was an episode like this. It's a pretty good one too, Might be a little fillery in some instances, but I do appreciate the fact that even if it has like a non-significant role to the plot, at least manages to feel like you're going forward nonetheless. Basically, Ethan tries to get himself crazy over a video game. He hacks into like the game itself in order to get the secret code, and that's something that the wizard tells him. He doesn't like devoted gamers like that. He wants people to play honestly and be like genuine game players. I'm thinking about when Ninja Steel did an episode about how playing video games might not be a good thing, but it kind of feels very anti-technology in a way. Like it was fun in some instances, but at the same time, I get the feeling that the writers were outdated with how people see video games. Like, don't get me wrong, they didn't immediately say stuff like, "Oh, video games are like illegal in our place." And to their credit, they at least managed to make Devin's character like a worthwhile addition without making him seem like a typical video game obsessed nerd type of guy, or make him say like video games bad, be a good person. But there was a feeling I was worried we would get from Beast Morphers if you consider the fact that some of the same writers were involved. But that being said, I did like the fact that Ethan was pretty much being reminded that cheating like that isn't going to take him anywhere, and especially in real life when he starts getting too obsessed with this sort of crap. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using cheat codes and but the way he did it just felt kind of like not really all that good. Using an external device to hack into a game, try and get the code that you need. That's not really cool, man. Especially if it's like one that encourages you to keep going. Plus, it kind of also gives him a bit of like a compromise as now they brought in the wizard, as well as a new form of troops that are the Triptoids, which I believe originated from the video game. Yeah, they pretty much did. Why they got the name of Triptoid for the basically like the villain names for the henchmen is kind of beyond me. Maybe they were called that, and maybe Zeltrax or Mesogog looked them up and said, "Oh yeah, these are the Triptoids," as they call them. It would be kind of funny if people were like confused about them. But for those that don't know, the Triptoids are the main antagonistic like henchmen of an Opera Ranger, because Dino Thunder made up the Tyranno drones, which were like original creations for Power Rangers, and the Triptoids were basically our counterpart, like the Japanese counterpart towards the Tyranno drones. But because like the fact that they're going to need to save some money for original footage, they decided to use the Triptoids for some Opera Ranger footage, and it's not a bad idea. I mean, they're much more plentiful compared to the Tyranno drones. You can see the Tyranno drones as being much more like a heavy duty type uh, army by comparison. And I do believe both were used during the Thunderstorm team up, which hopefully we'll get to soon, as well as get to some Ninja Storm episodes. But yeah, episode was pretty good. And I did like the fact that Tommy Oliver had his mouth disappear at one point when he was trying to tell Ethan about why he shouldn't try and get into stuff like this. mean, him going like, that was like so funny, and he didn't seem unfazed about it either. Although, like, I will say that him saying let's not do that again was well timed when uh the wizard brought his mouth, and I think his name was Larigo. I might be confusing it with the other guy whose name sounds familiar from Turbo, the furry looking guy. No, not the DeviantArt furry. I'm talking about like the furball. I don't know. I don't know. Like Turbo's movie was pretty silly. Like, yeah, sure, it came out before Dino Thunder, which felt like a much better done season. But like, come on now, '90s PR before in space definitely felt kind of like outlandish, not as sharp in terms of storytelling. But anyways, yeah, the wizard pretty much like was one given some sort of attribute by the fact that the device that Ethan used was able to help locate where the monster of the week went, who was pretty much named Magnetron, and his voice sounded pretty annoying. But hey, at least he didn't talk as much, and to his credit, he didn't really like last as long. I will say though, the way that we get from the nice like American Ranger footage to the Japanese Aba Ranger footage was pretty like obvious. Between the way the actors were like portrayed to the fight choreography and the picture quality, as well as the fact that that Kira used like her Terra Zord briefly, and didn't really use Zords as often in PR, probably because they didn't want to use the rule escalation thing. But beyond that, one other weird thing was the fact that Tommy Oliver suddenly decided to leap into the action. Uh, like I think there was a reason behind that in Aba Ranger because maybe Abade Black was much more of an impulsive character, whereas Tommy would normally say, "All right, let's get into action. We'll bring in the Zords." That's just like an interesting observation, but it kind of reminds me of when looking back when they used footage of Keeper Ranger as well as Mega Red, who both of which have personalities that contrast Tommy Oliver and Andros respectively. It's just one of those things that we get with PR and Sentai and Tokusatsu in general. But yeah, I have to say that the episode itself was a pretty good one overall for a more like episodic feel to it. Although it did build up to the fact that we now have a new form of enemies for the Rangers to go up against in the form of the Triptoids. And what about our comedic duo, Devin and Cassidy? You know, the fact that Cassidy randomly decided to go into some sort of royal theme was random. But the fact that she was pretty much an insufferable cunt made her, like, well, I don't want to call her that because she did develop her character over time. But at the same time, it was kind of funny to see her try and go, like, whine about how she wants to be treated like royalty and whatnot, and then she gets her dress dirty when she gets into the other world. But why she wants to be treated as royalty at the cyberspace cafe is beyond me. Even Devin questioned that. That does it for today's episode. Thank you all for watching this, and I'll see y'all next time with the next episode. Take care.